Right.
Hi, this is the month, is it? April 2022 Land Down Under Hangout, where we read books and things that taste like them. So this month I've actually picked a really light read, which is NPCs by Drew Hayes. It's the typical story about how when you switch off the lights and go home from your D&D game, that the characters still happen to be there. And I figured that it would be something easy to get through. So Elizabeth, what did you think?
Yeah, I thought a successful pick in terms of being a light, fun read. Definitely aimed at a particular audience, but that's okay because I'm squarely within that audience. And yeah, just had fun with it.
Cool. Bobby?
So yeah, I enjoyed it. It helped whenever my brain just decided to think of it as like Toy Story for gamers. That helped a lot. Because I know you say you picked this because it was meant to be an easy read to get through. And it took me 2 months to get through the whole book without falling asleep multiple times and not knowing what was going on. And I don't know what it was. It's not that I didn't like the book at all. I was enjoying it. I just kept not paying attention. So, but yeah, once I got past that first third of the book, which sometimes seems to be my thing, takes me a third of the way through the book before I'm really quite hooked. And about then, that's when I was like, well, this really is, and I knew it was going to be this way, but I was like, it really is just Toy Story, but for gamers. Okay, I can do it then. And I did enjoy it. However, I didn't like it as much as maybe I otherwise would have, but you did say that he was obviously, I could tell he was trying to figure out what he was doing with this whole plan and this whole thing. And I don't know how many books he's got, but I know you read the most recent one and you were like, this is really good writing and it's so much better than the first one. And I don't know if I can last through all of them to get to that one, which is amazing, supposedly.
It might actually just be my expectations set from the previous ones.
Maybe if you read it out loud to me, we could do that. How about?
That would be cheating.
What? It'd be cheating?
Yeah.
Why would that be cheating?
Wouldn't be an unbiased review.
Well,
Oh.
I mean, the Land Down Under Hangout has tradition of reading to one's spouses, so I feel like this is well within the ballpark.
He said I wouldn't be reading that one for a hangout, so it's okay if I'm biased.
I mean, G reads to Luke all the time, and he's not officially a member.
Mm-hmm. You read other stuff to me all the time in original pronunciation too. So like, come on.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Anyway, we are
off topic.
wandering away again.
Actually, it's something that I read a few years ago. I think actually that I actually listened to the audiobook. The narrator's pretty cool because he does all the voices.
Yeah.
Which is always my favorite thing in audiobooks. Yeah, I think that actually I started listening to it years ago with Bobby and she fell asleep within 5 minutes. But it's something I just listen to every once in a while just to relax because it's no-brainer. But the thing I really loved about it is how someone's taken what is obviously a throwaway piece of writing that they've done to introduce a campaign where it's like, how are we going to tell the party that we're railroading them down this road? That they can't just go do what they want. I know the Mad King's going to kill them if they don't. And it's a throwaway line someone came up with in 5 seconds, and then all of a sudden there's these dead adventurers in tavern, and it's like, oh my God, the Mad King will kill our village. And what are we going to do? Everyone will die that we love. There's only one way. We've got to protect, and then it goes on from there. And it probably would have ended there for me if it wasn't for the goblins.
Goblins were cute. Yeah. I did like the switcheroo that they did. Oh, by the way, people listening, spoilers abound. So, yeah. I liked the whole switcheroo that they sort of did as it went along. Like I could see it coming, but I still liked that it happened. Like, yeah. very much read to me like a dungeon master who was annoyed at his group of gamers who didn't do what he wanted them to do, and he had put all this effort into a story that nobody was going to get, so he wrote a book.
Look, I almost bounced off this book. If it had just stuck with the gamers, I probably would have been out of there, because they're the most infuriating group. And even the GM, who I guess is kind of maybe a little bit supposed to be a bit more sympathetic, I'm like, no, that is not the way you GM.
Yeah, no. I actually, it's probably why I fell asleep the first 5 minutes several times into this book, because he reminded me of my very first DM, whose whole point was he wanted you to do a specific, it was basically on rails, like, and nobody liked that. Like, he wasn't willing to let you explore, and it was not fun. Like, I left gaming, like, I could have gamed for 5 or 10 years more than I ever have because of him. Anyway.
Bad GMing, boo.
Yes, bad GMs have an impact. Don't be that person, internet.
Yeah, don't be.
Most of the same. It's like I think it's theoretically a lit RPG, but luckily no one's reading out stats all the time. There is not very much, and I rolled a 6 and he rolled a 4 sort of thing. But I did like, my favorite part of the whole book was the bit where someone just takes the concept, it's like, so really the mayor's just keeps getting kidnapped by goblins and she's not in on it, I think.
That was fun. I thought that was a great, because barbarians are usually supposed to be like tribesmen or like brought up by wolves or whatever it is. Like, this was a really great way to circumvent that, is by having her periodically kidnapped by the goblins and just kind of getting to know them and the way they live. That was just fantastic.
Yeah, I thought that reading through, because I listened to it again leading up to this, and I was just thinking, he really doesn't know what he's doing with this book. He's got the short story that he then built out on, but until maybe near the end, or even the second book when he decided to write another one, he really just didn't know what he was doing with it. But there are a few things here and there that are just hilarious. And I do, as much as I do like that, we're not going to sit into the stereotypical roles of this and that and the other. It's not really the most original concept, but I thought it was done reasonably well. You've got Grump, who starts dumbing down his speech to interact with other people because that's what they expect. Tropes aside, I really enjoyed it for just even those minor bits. The bit about how she just speaks Goblick. The stuff with it, nothing to do with the DM and the gaming group actually excited me that much, other than going, could you please be over? Yes, okay, I know you guys are assholes, you're hacking and slashing. I mean, there's a bit of Deus Ex Machina with the bridge at the end, and that kind of explains some stuff, kind of not. But really, I think that seemed to just start off as an excuse of, why are we actually talking about two different worlds here? How does this link in together? Again, didn't really seem to be going anywhere in this book. But hey, it was a good excuse. And demons.
Although going back to the goblins, I was quite entertained by the fact they're communists.
Yeah. Although at the same time, I was like, you are obviously probably a North American writer if you've made the typical villain a communist, but okay, I'll go with it. I liked them after I got more into the book and the story. I did really enjoy the goblin characters.
Yeah.
Didn't pick up on the communism.
Sorry?
I didn't pick up on the obvious communism. I just thought it was well, of course that's what you'd have to do to survive.
I mean, the subversion of the tropes can also be a little problematic in places too. Yeah. For example, making the woman the barbarian can get into tropes of irrational women and at the mercy of their emotions and that sort of thing. Though that wasn't the vibe that it was kind of like going for. It could have walked into that. But you know, I like it was interesting too. It was interesting too because they have Gabrielle kind of being like the barbarian, busting out of like the narrow social roles that she's expected to play and that sort of thing. But the story never really does that because there are very few female characters in this book.
Yeah, there's like 2 or 3.
2.
There's 2. Yeah, there's 2 kind of that follow the main story, and yeah.
And there was like a distant passing reference to a female gamer somewhere.
Yeah. Oh no, I think my brain was confusing. There's a character, she is dead. It's the wife of whatever his name is.
Oh yeah.
So he talks about her, but we never see her behave on her own. Like, yeah, it's always through his eyes that we get any information. So
yeah, Thistle's wife.
To put it to be generous, it is an accurate representation of a very patriarchal society. Stereotypical hack and slash feudal system. But yeah, even with that, there's not just a dearth of female characters, there's a dearth of any females at all. Like,
yeah.
Goodness knows how they get by.
Storks. Don't need anything else, just storks.
Must be.
The goblins are breeding enough for everyone else.
I'm trying, so do keep talking, I am listening. I'm trying to find a thing where I was like plopping down notes of thoughts about this, but I don't know if I'm going to find it. So
Actually, I had to go back and check where the end of this book was and the other ones began.
That is the problem when you read the rest of the series.
Yeah, a lot of the failings of this series, like some of the really huge ones, have actually do get patched up because you just couldn't continue like this. But that then comes into talking about the next books, which no one has read, and stuff like that. But following on from it, it does actually develop a plot line. There are even other female characters, major female characters. They get speaking roles in everything.
Wow.
Is that because his editor said he had to? I don't know.
Sorry?
I was wondering if that's because his editor said he had to.
I think I've read enough bad fantasy and like lit RPGs to think that that's not a prerequisite.
For sure.
It's not. Yeah. It's not.
I was a little disappointed that we didn't get more of Thistle and Grump's backstory together. Like I have a suspicion about how that might play out, but I'm sure it comes out in that other books. But it was lovely. I appreciated the friendship between those 2.
I did too. I actually did. I really quite liked Thistle, like just as a character. I thought he was rather sweet. I mean, he made me think of he reminded me a lot of Grumpy from Seven Dwarves sort of thing a little bit, but a bit more nuanced than that. But yeah.
Grump seemed like a sweetheart too. I liked the way he was like taking Gabrielle aside and coaching her.
Yeah.
You seem to be full of lots of rage because people are dicks around you. Here's how we get that rage put into a little ball and let it fly towards that dickhead.
Yeah, it was very sweet.
I mean, like, yeah, and also he ended up being the paladin, and he didn't want to have to tell the truth. He didn't want to have to talk about anything, and so I think he was the paladin, right? Thistle was the paladin.
Thistle was the paladin. Grump was the half-orc mage giving Gabrielle the coaching.
Right. Yeah. Because but Thistle is the one with whose wife died. Yeah, and he didn't want to have to talk about any of it, but he couldn't lie about it either, and he didn't want to share his backstory. But everyone's like, "Tell us," and kept asking him questions.
I do like how Thistle's relationship with Grumble, which is basically Are you fucking kidding me? You want me to be a paladin? No way. No, not me. I know what that involves. That is a lot of work. I'm going to end up dead real soon. And yeah, exactly why do you think you're putting on airs? And this is with the, the god that he actually thinks is the least pretentious.
Yeah, I did appreciate that it was the god of minions. That was a nice touch.
Yes.
Yeah. Especially, and that the god of minions is actually in that particular universe chose to be the god of minions. Like,
yes,
he was a minion that became a god and was like, not, oh yes, I'm going to revel in this power now that I'm on top of it. It's like, you know what? I can actually do good here. I can make a change after I've just smote the dark wizard that like threw me into the pot or whatever. So yeah, I liked Grumble, and which makes it a lot easier because otherwise it would be pretty boring with yet another paladin going on a quest and things like that. And yeah, Thistle's take on it is more like he's been hit over the back of the head with becoming a paladin. He's, really not sure if this is for him, but he realizes he's stuck with it. Kind of like the entire cast in their entire adventure.
Yeah.
Continually being hit over the back of the head with things they hadn't thought of.
Yeah. I did quite like how towards the end, whenever the real life gamers kept trying to get back into the story, they kept getting shoved out by the story having a life of its own and doing its own thing. It's like, no, you were idiots. You were annoying as in the beginning of the book. So just, keep rolling bad rolls and just sit there and watch.
Mm-hmm.
It felt like just this time of redemption for having to put up with them at the start.
For sure. Yeah, no, it was a good friendship, I think, between the core group. Not just Thistle and Grump, but all of them.
Does what is her name?
Gabrielle?
Not the princess not the one that's the other woman, the one that lent Thistle the knives. Yeah. She's what, half elf or something? I don't remember. I'm really bad. There were a lot of names. I remember, but I liked her. Does she come back in the other books?
It's hard to tell.
Spoilers?
Sorry? How is that hard to tell?
Spoilers.
So yes, she does, but he's not at liberty to say more.
So like, there's characters that say, it's not giving away too much that there's characters with a foot in each world.
Yeah.
Going on further. And yes, she absolutely shares traits with some other people, other characters. Although I didn't remember her name, so I didn't. So I forgot to check.
She pretty clearly implies that she was an NPC, though.
Yeah, and that she was actually a player. Like, she was actually an adventurer. No, it was the other way around. She wasn't a player.
She wasn't a player, yeah. She basically said she was an NPC that became an adventurer.
Yeah.
I find that also a bit strange that, like, I mean, I kind of got what he was doing, but that felt I was like, you are a tabletop game and we're following a particular group of people. And generally how these games work is you have a collection of people who meet up and have their own campaign. This is not World of Warcraft where anyone on the planet can just jump into the storyline at any point and affect it. I did catch that there was this implication that some people can do, like, some characters can do both. But
it was a printed module, so that means that it'd be sold to lots of people. In which case, you might get the same effect as a
because he was using
he hadn't created his own stuff. He was using a published adventure.
Yeah, all right. No, all right. I might buy that.
Okay. Yeah, it did come up at least once about how there was an exceedingly realistic amount of detail in the module as well, like just to a ludicrous degree, and especially near the end where it starts to be, this seems to be changing and stuff from what I remember. I kept on making all these mistakes, which is kind of part of the whole, like, the whole foundation of the universe. But really, the idea is it's something that so many people have gone and played in this world. it was really, I don't know if it comes, I haven't read too many of these, okay, I've read a few of them, but that does address a bit about how incredibly unbalanced it is between like the adventurers that come in and come around slaying stuff and whatever, and just the people who just live their lives in these day-to-day things. It's like, oh, you have gold? Really? I don't know if I've ever seen gold. I've saved away my life and things like that. But the one thing that one of the most subtle tropes that actually, just made, didn't make me cry, but it was just like, oh no, that is so sad, was the bit where Grump has to burn down his bar because,
Oh, yeah.
otherwise, of course, it would, become like just a lair. And why would you do that to the people you love? Like, God damn it, that trope killed his bar.
That was quite sad, yeah.
Yeah. I'm going into detail about how he carved every single chair and the years of trust he built up. Like, the writing was good enough in that bit that I did not, it wasn't just when we're really just drawing a long bow. It's like, no, actually, I really did see how he'd put all this effort in and built it all up. So
it also kind of like, you could take that as when you played one of these games, that's the whole mindset of a gamer is to go in, this world just exists for you to go in and kind of smash it. It's an anger room is basically kind of what it is, and a lot of, not everyone plays that way, but like that is very like that is a really common way to approach these, is where you go in and smash everything and have lots of battles and then walk away feeling full of whatever. So like it kind of feels a bit like he was on purpose trying to make you have an emotional connection with something, and think about all of that like smashing you've been doing, because nobody thinks of that. Like they only listen to that little bit of story that they get right before they say, yeah, we're going to torch the place, or we're going to break everything because we're having a battle here.
No one ever thinks the family of a henchman.
Okay. Indeed.
Sorry? Yeah, no one ever family of a henchman, yeah.
It's like the bit at the end where it's like, that we could have just given the guards some money. They probably are pretty poor and stuff. And it's like, nah, just slash their throats. The gamers that are very obviously just being put up as a juxtaposition by making them so extremely like hack and slash. And no, we have no reason for this. We're just here on a killing spree with our mad min-max characters. Yeah.
Oh, actually, I have another question. Does Tim's character end up being like a permanent part of the party?
Yeah.
Okay. Just curious.
He wants to be a paladin. That's all he's ever wanted. He doesn't know what's on the score.
I'm deeply glad that his character got free, and that he managed to find another gaming group, because that poor guy.
Yeah. That guy was me in all those games that I tried to join when I was much younger, because I was like, no, let's do this. There's a story here. And they're like, no, there's not. We're just going to go beat everything to shit. Try and roll as many d20s as crits as we can.
But it was particularly cruel, and I thought, well done, just giving Timascore some existential angst about how he really wanted to be a paladin.
It was quite amusing. I hope he goes forth and becomes one.
No, Timascore is one of the few examples of character development in that series. Sorry, the characters don't so much develop as just have stuff thrown at them, which is, yeah, it's one of the things I've been noticing about the books I've been reading lately. There's some books, like I was asked to, something came up where people are like, what's the best book that you've read out of these ones? And one of them was like a Sean McGuire book, and the other one was like The Consuming Fire, or one of the Scalzi books in the Interdependency series. And both of them I'd really loved. And then I realized in the and another one was one of the Mary Robinette Cole's books. And I was like, how do I pick between these? I loved each one of these books. These are my favorite. These are, have become some of my favorite books I've read. And I realized that in Scalzi books, the characters never really developed. I loved the universe he'd created, I loved the characters, and I loved everything that happened. But at the end of the day, the characters that were at the beginning of the first book were there at the end of the last. And that's another thing that I really found missing from NPCs, especially going on, is that the characters are really, they're there, they do stuff, that you find out more about them, but they're really just a fixed, they don't grow. And I mean, I'm not a writer, and if I was, then I certainly wouldn't be able to do that. But it's something I do notice when it's there. And I might be asking a lot from a, like, you know, satire basically on role playing and stuff like that. But some more character development would have been nice.
Mm.
Is that,
Yeah, I wonder if that's characteristic of a certain play style.
yeah.
Whether, I don't know, because some people really get into character development, and then others it's just kind of static. Like that staticness of character reflects the game that he's satirizing, I guess. Don't know.
So there are 5. There are 5 books so far in this series.
When was the last one out? If you've got it to hand, Bobby.
Last month on the March 30th.
Right. So
On the March 30th, that's great English. On March 30th. Yeah.
recently then. Okay. So more maybe in the offing yet.
Sorry?
So there might be more further down the track.
Oh,
Well, I hope so, because the story's still up in the air.
I see.
But
Yeah.
after that many books, then you've got to keep doing that, right? Like, it's always.
I have to say it was very cute, but also very strange that there was a book that had come out that you were like, I'm giving my weekend up to this. It's just come out. Don't bug me. And I wasn't involved. Because normally we have such similar tastes with books right now that come out that usually if it comes out, we both want to hear it. And this time I was like, I don't know what's going on. What? This is very strange. But it was very cute. And then you finished it and you're like, oh, it's done and there's no more.
Don't you hate that?
I didn't realize he wrote Fred the Vampire Accountant. I have not read that book, but I have, it's a whole series. Wow. Okay, 7 books. Anyway, I should stop looking at his website.
Yeah, I haven't really gotten into anything else he's written at
Have you
all.
tried?
I don't know if any of it is any good. I've looked at it and haven't really
Oh, I see.
sunk the time.
Yeah, okay. I'm looking at them and they all look like it's going to be mostly dudes. Like Damaged Detective looks like he's kind of doing his thing with the Hardy Boys. It's probably fun, but just only dudes on the cover racing a car down, you know, forging Hephaestus.
Yeah, he'd have to be trying harder if he wanted to hook me as an ongoing audience, I'm afraid.
Yeah, I think so.
But yeah, it was at least good to it was a good fun read still. I was only able to get it on audio, so that was a novel experience for me.
Yeah,
because I don't normally do audio, although I really should do more, and this was helpful for encouraging that, because it's always good to have something to listen to while you're doing housework. And this was excellent for that. So good fun, but yeah. I did think that the narrator did a decent job with all the different voices.
Yeah.
Pretty sure I've heard him do something else too, but I can't think what off the top of my head.
I don't know about you. I know I've read something by him. Let me check.
See, until I met Bobby, I'd never actually listened to audiobooks.
Yeah, the book club, I think, kind of hooked me in a little bit.
Jeremy Robinson. All right.
Because my phone will not tell me exactly. I can now search by narrator, and some of them do specific genres. And so some stuff I've found just by going through, I'm bored, I'll look at what that narrator's done because they didn't create.
Yeah, that's definitely a good way of doing it.
But maybe using Will Wheaton was probably a bit of a, might have been a bit of an outlier there.
Mhm. I don't think so. Some of them definitely seem to have predilection for particular genres.
He did the subtle. He narrated the subtle art of not giving a fuck.
That was definitely not it.
Apparently, a lot of romance.
Okay. I try and
That would
avoid
be
listening to
interesting. I
romance.
don't think I've ever listened to an audio romance book with sexy times that had a dude narrating it. I'm sure they exist because there's dude on dude narrate like romance books too. I've just never.
Well, he does all the voices.
I know.
So do the ladies. Just.
Oh dear. I no, whatever it was, it's gone. Oh dear.
The idea doesn't sound particularly appealing. I don't. No, I take it back. Listening to James Marston narrate sexy times in some of the books that I've read, that's fine. That's okay.
Oh, that's what it was. I know Richard Armitage has narrated some of Georgette Heyer's stuff.
I don't know who Richard Armitage is.
Okay.
Probably.
Probably the shortest cut to him for you would be Thorin Oakenshield.
Oh, yeah, that'd be okay.
Yeah, I mean, Georgette Heyer is kind of period-esque, so she's not necessarily sexy times, but she is romance for sure.
Actually, first shortcut to me would have. I mean, I know who he is as well from The Hobbit and stuff, but would have been Spooks. He was in Spooks.
Okay.
When he's very young. I've seen it. It's like MI5. It's a TV series. MI5. It's very good. David, you and I watched it.
That sounds fun.
Together. Yeah, it's very. The first or second episode very intense with a deep fryer, but otherwise it's good.
It can be very intense. It's basically what happens if you have like all these people who joined the intelligence service because they really loved their country, and then you have 9/11 and all the stuff that came after it, and then you just watch all these like hardy professionals just breaking on screen.
Yeah,
sounds interesting.
It's good. Okay, so yeah, he could narrate my sexy times books. I'm sure that would be fun.
Yeah, it's a shame he hasn't done more, but anyway, we have wandered afield again.
Do we have anything else to talk about with that book? I mean, I appreciate that it was a nice fluffy read and I finally got through it.
Not particularly deep though, no.
No, but I mean, it didn't need to be deep. It was okay that it wasn't deep.
Indeed.
No, it's not really not deep. That is a lot of the point. I can listen to it in my sleep and in fact have.
That's true. I kept waking up at the same point in the story and liking that bit. So
do you remember which bit?
Right now, no, but it was always the same bit, and it was something having to do with one of the big fire demon fights.
There are a couple, yeah.
Yeah, there are a couple. I think it would have been the later one because it's towards the end of the book that I was usually waking up. So, yeah.
Yeah, there was many tropes there. It's like including Thistle being like swallowed alive and then coming out again afterwards. That was. But he was realistic about it. He's like, yeah, I'm just dead now. Like, I'm going to cause some pain going down. It wasn't, oh, and I'll survive this, because it's just like, no, you're swallowed by a demon. That's not going to end well. Very sensible approaches they take. Probably why they ended up at least alive through at least the first half of the book. Oh, I don't really have much more to say about it, I think.
Okay. Go ahead.
Mainly because I keep thinking of bits in the next books that are like, oh, and there's this thing, and there's this thing, and there's this thing.
Okay, well, shush, because that's not in this.
No, I'm not quite. No, I'm not. If you like this book, there is others in the series, and some of them are good.
Apparently, the most recent one is good. just based on what I heard, like the noises you were making while you were reading it. So, Elizabeth, do you know which of the next 2 books is the big read? Because I know we have a mini read coming up.
Our next big read is Seance Tea Party by
Hang on, I can find that. There were 2 books listed there, and I wasn't sure which one was the short.
I think it's Ramina Yi.
Yeah, Ramina Yi. Mm-hmm. Yep, it's a graphic novel.
It is very charming.
Woohoo! Okay. Yep. So we will see you for that in 3-4 weeks. Yay.
Won't be listening to that on audiobook.